For 17,000 years, the galaxy had known only one authority, the Council of the Stars. 12 ancient civilizations sat at its center. They called themselves the Elder Races. They had witnessed empires rise and collapse. They had observed young species crawl from their home worlds and reach for the stars. And over time, they reached a single conclusion. The galaxy required order. It required supervision. And above all, it required them. From their vast station at Nexus Prime, they watched everything. Their sensor network stretched across thousands of light years. Their patrol fleets controlled every major trade corridor. Nothing of significance occurred in the Orion Arm without their awareness. Nothing changed without their consent. That was why an anomaly, however small, never went unnoticed. The signal came from an unremarkable yellow star at the edge of known space. A quiet system. No strategic value. No recorded importance. The star was designated Sol. The third planet orbiting it was called Earth, and the species living there called themselves human. High Observer Kalmoth of the Etherin Concord was the first to study the readings. Even among the elder races, Kalmoth was ancient. His species measured age in millennia, and he had spent his life observing the rise of over 100 civilizations. He understood the patterns, and these readings did not follow them. "This cannot be correct," Kalmoth said quietly. "Run the analysis again." His assistant complied. The results were unchanged. "High Observer," she said carefully, "the data is accurate. The species has achieved faster-than-light capability." Kalmoth stared at the display. "How old is their technological civilization?" "Approximately 4 centuries. Silence followed. "For 100 years. Most species required 10,000 years to develop interstellar travel. Some took twice that. The fastest on record had achieved it in 6,000 years and had been declared a miracle. 400 years was not a miracle. It was an anomaly, and anomalies made the Council uneasy. "Notify the Council," Kalmoth said at last. "Classification, Rapid Ascension Anomaly, Priority 1. His assistant froze. That classification had only been issued 11 times in 17,000 years. 6 of those species no longer existed. Within hours, the Council convened. The chamber stars came alive, vast, luminous, and ancient. 12 thrones formed a circle at its heart, each occupied by a being whose species had shaped galactic history. Holographic star maps filled the air. At the center of them all, Earth. They represent a potential threat to galactic stability, declared Speaker Varen of the Lithari. "A potential threat?" scoffed Warlord Sivax of the Kthian Empire. "They are insignificant. A small world. A fragile species." "The Vel were called insignificant as well," replied Ambassador Kalina de Quarry calmly. "They destroyed 3 colonies before they were contained." Sivax said nothing. Kalmoth raised a hand. "The issue is not what humanity is today," he said. "It is what they may become. They have achieved in 4 centuries what others take 10,000 years to reach. If this acceleration continues, they will surpass us within a single millennium." The chamber fell silent. 1,000 years was nothing to the elder races, but the idea that a young species could exceed them so quickly was unsettling. "We must observe them directly," said Mindkeeper Aura to the Veshan Collective. "Assess their intentions. And if those intentions are hostile?" Sivax asked. "Then we proceed as we always have," Kalmoth replied calmly. "The guided development protocol exists for a reason. The decision was unanimous. An envoy would be sent. Humanity would be observed, evaluated, judged. If deemed acceptable, they would be welcomed. If not, appropriate measures would be taken. Ambassador Thalvin was selected for the mission, young, intelligent, and, if necessary, expendable. Her ship departed Nexus Prime the following cycle. Destination, Earth. What the Council did not know, what they could not see, was that humanity had detected their observation probes 20 years earlier, and they had been preparing ever since. The journey from Nexus Prime to Earth took just over 3 standard weeks. For Ambassador Thalvin, it was time she used carefully. She studied everything the Council possessed on humanity. which, she quickly realized, was very little. Long-range sensors had mapped human ships and communication traffic, but only in fragments. Their language had been partially decoded. Their political structures were roughly understood. Their military doctrine, however, was incomplete. What was complete was their history, and it was troubling. Humanity had fought itself relentlessly. Wars between nations, wars over resources, wars over ideology. They had created weapons capable of erasing entire cities, and had used them. By Council standards, such a species should have destroyed itself long before reaching the stars. Yet somehow they hadn't. They survived. They adapted. They unified. And then, astonishingly, they reached space. Thalvin found that detail impossible to ignore. Most species fractured under far less pressure. Humanity seemed to thrive under it. That alone made them dangerous. When the Starlight Whisper entered the Sol system, Thalvin expected panic. First contact usually shattered young civilizations. Some collapsed socially. Others descended into religious hysteria. A few responded with violence. Humanity did none of these things. A human vessel approached her ship calmly. It was small by Council standards. Its hull bore visible seams. Its engines burned far too brightly. Primitive, yet its maneuvering was precise, controlled, confident. Unknown vessel. The human voice said, steady and professional. This is United Earth Coalition Ship Horizon. Please state your identity and intentions. Thalvin activated her translator. I am Ambassador Thalvin of the Etherin Concord, she replied. I come in peace, representing the Council of the Stars. There was a pause. Not confusion. Not fear. Processing. Please hold position, Ambassador. The voice returned. Earth Command has been notified. That was it. No alarm. No threats. No celebration. Just procedure. 6 hours later, a second ship arrived. Larger. Still primitive. Still calm. Its designation, UES Prometheus. Its commander, Admiral Helena Vasquez. Welcome to our system, Ambassador, Vasquez said, offering a polite smile that never reached her eyes. I've been authorized to escort you to Earth and facilitate first contact. Thalvin studied the human through the viewport. Something felt wrong. Vasquez did not look like someone encountering alien life for the first time. She looked like someone who had expected this meeting for a very long time. Earth came into view hours later. Blue, alive, crowded. Orbital stations ringed the planet. Traffic moved in disciplined patterns. Dozens of ships were visible, far more than Thalvin had anticipated. Their technology was inferior, but their numbers were not. Thalvin landed in a region called Geneva. She was greeted by a human delegation led by Ambassador David Chun. He was older, composed, sharp-eyed. His greeting was flawless. Too flawless. On behalf of the United Earth Coalition, Chun said, bowing slightly, "Welcome to Earth. We are honored by your visit." Every word was perfect. Every gesture practiced. First contact was not supposed to look like this. Over the following weeks, Thalvin observed humanity closely. She toured cities, factories, research facilities. Human scientists answered her questions with ease. Military officers spoke openly of their defenses. Political leaders displayed unity rarely seen in young species. Everything she saw supported the Council's assessment. Human technology was crude, their weapons unsophisticated, their ships vulnerable. And yet, something was missing. Humanity was showing her exactly what they wanted her to see. Nothing more. Nothing less. When Thalvin requested access to restricted facilities, she was politely refused. When she inquired about classified programs, she received warm smiles and empty answers. Admiral Vasquez remained at her side throughout, always helpful, always courteous, and completely unreadable. On her final day, Thalvin met Ambassador Chun once more. "I must return to Nexus Prime and deliver my assessment," she said. "And what will you tell them?" Chun asked. Thalvin hesitated. She could report what the data showed. Primitive technology. limited military capability, a violent but maturing species. Everything pointed to one conclusion, yet her instincts screamed another. I will tell the Council that humanity is remarkable, she said carefully. You have achieved much in a very short time. Chun smiled faintly. I'm sure they'll find that interesting. The starlight whisper departed Earth the next day. As Thalvin watched the planet shrink into distance, unease settled over her. Humanity was hiding something. She was certain of it. But certainty without evidence meant nothing to the Council. 3 weeks later, her report was delivered. The Council listened in silence. When she finished, High Observer Kalmah spoke. Your observations are noted, he said, but your concerns are based on intuition, not fact. The evidence suggests humanity is a typical young species, not a threat. Then he delivered the decision. Humanity will be summoned to Nexus Prime for formal evaluation. They will stand before the Council, and we will decide their future. On Earth, Ambassador Chun read the summons quietly. Admiral Vasquez stood beside him. So, she said, it begins. Chun nodded. Yes, he replied calmly. We've been ready for 20 years. And somewhere beyond the edge of known space, something moved. The summons arrived wrapped in ceremony, official language, formal praise. Carefully chosen words meant to sound like an honor. But everyone on Earth understood the truth. Humanity was not being invited. It was being judged. Ambassador David Chun read the message in silence. Behind him, Earth moved as it always had. Cities alive with light. People unaware how close their future hovered to the edge of control. Sooner than expected, Admiral Helena Vasquez said quietly. Chun nodded. Yes, but not sooner than prepared. Within hours, Earth's hidden machinery began to move. Not publicly, not loudly, silently. On the dark side of the moon, hangar doors opened for the first time in decades. Beneath the ice of Europa, sealed facilities powered up. Deep within the asteroid belt, stations that officially did not exist came alive. From each location, ships emerged, 17 in total, each over 3 kilometers long, each wrapped in a field so complete that not even light could escape its surface. They did not announce themselves. They did not accelerate violently. They simply slipped into the darkness and vanished. Humanity's real fleet had begun to move. The Prometheus, meanwhile, prepared for departure. It was small, outdated, intentionally unimpressive. Its hull showed wear. Its engines ran hot and bright. Its systems were deliberately simple. It was everything the Council expected a primitive species to fly. And that was the point. The crew knew what their role was. They were not warriors. They were proof. Proof that humanity was weak. Proof that humanity was harmless. Proof that humanity could be underestimated. As the Prometheus departed Earth, its course was obvious, direct, predictable, easy to track, exactly as planned. Far away, in a region of space where no sensor should have seen anything at all, another vessel moved. The Nemesis. It did not emit light. It did not radiate heat. It did not register on any known detection system. It bent space around itself and passed through the void like a thought, present but untraceable. Captain Marcus Stone stood on its bridge. Status, he said quietly. All systems stable, replied Commander Sarah Kim. Dark matter containment nominal. No point generators charged. Stone nodded. For 20 years, humanity had pretended to be less than it was. Now the performance was entering its final act. Back aboard the Prometheus, Chun watched the stars slide past. We will be intercepted, Vasquez said calmly. Of course, Chun replied. They'll want to inspect us. Vasquez's lips curved slightly, and they'll find exactly what they expect. The interception came 6 hours later. 7 massive warships dropped out of FTL directly ahead. Kthyan vessels, heavily armored, brutal in design, weapons charged. The kind of ships built not for defense, but domination. The lead vessel hailed them. A reptilian face filled the display, scarred, armored, predatory. I am Warlord Sivax of Thine Empire, the creature growled. You are entering Council-controlled space. State your identity. Chun stepped forward, calm and composed. Ambassador David Chun, United Earth Coalition. We are traveling to Nexus Prime in response to a council summons. Documentation transmitted. Silence followed. Finally, Sivax spoke again. Your papers are acceptable. A pause. However, under council authority, I am ordering a full inspection of your vessel. Vasquez did not react. They had expected this. The boarding party arrived soon after. 12 Kthian warriors in heavy combat armor. They moved through Prometheus like conquerors walking through a defeated city. Their scanners probed every surface, every system, every compartment. They found nothing. Fusion reactor, conventional FTL drive, ballistic weapons, chemical missiles, primitive, embarrassingly so. Your ship is weak, Sivax said, looming over Chun. My people have destroyed civilizations far stronger than this. Chun did not flinch. We come in peace, he replied evenly. We seek cooperation, not conflict. Sivax laughed. The weak always do. The inspection concluded. No hidden compartments. No advanced systems. No threats. Sivax turned away in disgust. You may proceed, he said. You are beneath our concern. As the Kthian ships departed, the Prometheus continued onward. Chun exhaled slowly. They believe it, Vasquez said. Yes, Chun replied. And that belief will decide everything. 3 light years away, unseen and untouchable, the Nemesis adjusted course. 17 silent ships took their positions around Council space, above capital worlds, near military hubs, beside installations that had never known fear. Captain Stone received the signal from Earth Command. Phase 1 complete. He allowed himself a single breath. Maintain cloak, he ordered. We wait. The Council thought it had seen humanity clearly, weak, primitive, predictable. They had inspected the mask. They had dismissed the threat. And in doing so, they had failed to see what watched them from the dark. Nexus Prime was larger than anything humanity had ever built. It hung in space like a forged moon, layered with docking rings, defense platforms, and towers of ancient design. Thousands of ships moved around it at all times. Traders, diplomats, military patrols. Every path, every orbit, perfectly regulated. This was the heart of galactic authority, and humanity had been summoned to stand before it. The Prometheus approached slowly. Its engines burned bright and loud, announcing its presence to every sensor in the system. Chun knew that was intentional. The Council wanted to see them arrive. Small, exposed, insignificant. As the ship docked, a reception delegation waited. Dozens of alien representatives stood in formation. Some curious, others openly contemptuous. Few bothered to hide their expressions. Humanity was a spectacle. The delegation was escorted through corridors designed for species far larger than humans. Ceilings rose impossibly high. Walkways stretched wide and bare. Everything about the architecture was meant to overwhelm. Admiral Vasquez noticed it immediately. They're trying to make us feel small, she said under her breath. Chun nodded. Standard tactic. Power begins with perception. Their assigned quarters confirmed it. Functional. Spartan. Located far from the station's grand vistas. Important guests were housed near the stars. Judged species were not. The night before the evaluation passed in silence. Chun reviewed his prepared statements again and again. He already knew they would not matter. This was theater. The decision had been made long before they arrived. The following cycle, they were summoned to the Chamber of Stars. The doors opened slowly. What lay beyond was vast. The chamber was a dome large enough to contain a city. Holographic constellations filled the air. Live feeds from across Council space shimmered along the walls. At the center, 12 thrones, each occupied by a being whose species had ruled the galaxy for millennia. Chun recognized them from briefings. High Observer Kalmoth, luminous and still. Warlord Sivax, armored and openly hostile. Ambassador Colleen, suspended in flowing water. Others followed, forms of crystal, light, and flesh. Power made visible. The human delegation was directed to a raised platform at the chamber center. No chairs, no comforts. They would stand, like defendants. Above them, galleries filled with representatives of lesser species. Hundreds of eyes watching with expectation. This was not diplomacy. This was judgment. High Observer Kalmoth rose. The Council of the Stars is now in session. His voice echoed. We convene to evaluate the species known as humanity, recently emerged from Earth. This evaluation will determine humanity's status within the galactic community, and what controls will be placed upon them. Ambassador Chun, Kalmoth said, you may speak. Chun stepped forward. He felt thousands of eyes on him. He did not rush. Honored elders, he began calmly. Humanity thanks the Council for this opportunity. We are young. We acknowledge this. We have much to learn. A pause. But we have also learned that survival in a vast universe requires unity, resilience, and restraint. Pretty words, Sivax interrupted. Your history is soaked in blood. You have slaughtered your own kind, built weapons of extinction, used them. How can such a species be trusted? Chun did not deny it. Our past is violent, he said evenly, but conflict shaped us. It taught us what we must never become again. We are not defined by our worst moments. We are defined by what we chose after them. You speak boldly for a weak species, said Speaker Varen of the Lithari. Your ships are inferior, your weapons crude. You come in peace because you have no other option. A ripple of approval moved through the chamber. This was the narrative the Council preferred. Before Chun could reply, another voice rose. The concern is not humanity's present, said Mindkeeper Aura to the Veshin Collective. It is their future. In 4 centuries, they achieved what others require 10,000 years to accomplish. If this acceleration continues, they will surpass us. The chamber stirred. Fear moved beneath the surface. High Observer Kalmoth spoke again. The Council has reached a conclusion. Chun felt Vasquez tense beside him. Humanity has been classified as a rapid ascension anomaly. This classification requires intervention. The Council proposes implementation of the Guided Development Protocol. The words fell like iron. Under this protocol, Kalmoth continued, Earth's system will be placed under Council oversight. Human technological development will be restricted. Council peacekeeping forces will be stationed within your territory. Population growth will be monitored. Control, in everything but name. You call this guidance, Chun said quietly, but it is occupation. It is protection, Kalmoth replied coldly, for the galaxy. And if we refuse? Chun asked. Sivax answered. Refusal is not permitted. The implication was clear. Others who had refused no longer existed. Chun looked around the chamber, at the certainty on their faces, at the confidence of power unchallenged for 17,000 years. Then he smiled. You have judged us by what you could see, Chun said. You measured our ships. You counted our weapons. You studied our past. You measured the wrong things. He reached into his pocket and pressed a single button. The chamber did not react at first. Ambassador Chun's gesture seemed insignificant, a small movement, a simple device. Nothing that could threaten 17,000 years of authority. Then the holograms flickered, once, twice, and changed. Across the vast displays of the Chamber of Stars, new data streams appeared, unscheduled, unauthorized, unstoppable. Sensor feeds from across Council space began flooding the chamber. Capital systems, military hubs, shipyards, core worlds. And every feed showed the same impossible thing. Ships, not emerging from hyperspace, not arriving through jump points. Simply there, 17 massive silhouettes hung in the void, each over 3 kilometers long, each darker than space itself. They absorbed light instead of reflecting it. As if the universe itself refused to acknowledge their shape, they emitted no heat. No radiation. No detectable energy signature. They were not hiding. They had never been visible. A ship now hovered directly above Nexus Prime. Motionless. Silent. Watching. The chamber erupted. Council members rose from their thrones. Advisors shouted into communication arrays. Military officers demanded confirmations that kept returning the same answer. The readings were real. The ships were real. And none of the Council's sensors could explain how. What is this? High Observer Kalmoth demanded. His voice no longer carried certainty, only disbelief. Chun did not raise his voice. This session, he said calmly, is now being broadcast to every inhabited world in Council space. Every citizen is watching. Every species is listening. The galleries above fell silent. Across the galaxy, trillions saw the same images. The elder races, unshaken rulers of civilization, frozen in confusion. These vessels, Chun continued, are humanity's dark fleet. They have been in position for months. Your patrols never saw them. Your sensors never detected them. Sivak surged his feet, scales flaring crimson. This is deception, he roared. No ship can evade Cthine detection. They didn't evade it, Chun replied. They rendered it irrelevant. Admiral Helena Vasquez stepped forward. She stood beside Chun not as a subordinate, but as an equal. I am Admiral Helena Vasquez, she said clearly, commander of the United Earth Coalition's Dark Fleet. What you are seeing is the result of 20 years of preparation. She gestured. New schematics filled the chamber. For 2 decades, we knew you were watching us, Vasquez continued. We detected your observation probes. We decoded your communications. We learned exactly how you judge young species. So we gave you what you expected. We built visible ships while our real fleet remained hidden. We perfected fusion while mastering dark matter. We allowed you to believe we were primitive. Each of these vessels, she said, is equipped with null-point annihilators capable of breaching any known shield. Graviton weapons capable of tearing matter apart at the molecular level. A murmur rippled through the chamber. Fear spreading. But their true strength, Vasquez added, is not their weapons. It is their invisibility. We could place a ship inside your home system, she said evenly, and you would never know. For years. Silence felt like gravity. Kalmoth leaned forward slowly. How long, he asked carefully, has the vessel above Nexus Prime been there? Vasquez met his gaze. 93 days. The implication was devastating. Humanity had been present, watching, while the Council debated their fate. Chun stepped forward again. You intended to guide us, to control us, to ensure we never became a threat. But you cannot guide what you cannot control, and you cannot control what you cannot see. We do not seek war, he said. We do not seek conquest. We seek freedom. If we refuse, Sivax growled. Chun's voice remained calm. Then this conversation would have happened much earlier. The chamber did not explode into chaos. Something worse happened. It went quiet. The elder races, masters of strategy, conquerors of civilizations, understood the truth. There was no countermeasure, no immediate response, no victory to be won. High Observer Kalmoth rose slowly. Ambassador Chun, he said, his voice restrained. The Council requires time. Of course, Chun replied, but understand this. Humanity will not accept the guided development protocol. We will not be occupied. We will not be controlled. We are not asking for permission to exist. We are demanding recognition. Above them, the dark ships remain motionless, silent witnesses, reminders. For the first time in 17,000 years, the Council of the Stars did not know what to do next. The silence did not break all at once. It fractured. Across Council space, emergency signals ignited. Encrypted channels opened. Military commands demanded answers that did not exist. For 17,000 years, The Council of the Stars had ruled through certainty. Now certainty was gone. Inside the Chamber of Stars, the elder races withdrew into closed discussion. Human delegates were escorted from the chamber, not as prisoners, but not as equals either. Not yet. Behind sealed doors, the council argued. They must be destroyed, Warlord Sivak snarled, before they grow bolder. And how? Speaker Varen replied coldly. They occupy our space unseen. Any strike risks catastrophic loss. Our fleets outnumber theirs, Sivak insisted. Numbers are irrelevant, countered Minekeeper Oryx. They bypass every detection system we possess. We cannot fight what we cannot find. High Observer Kalmoth listened. For the first time in centuries, he did not interrupt. He studied projections, casualty estimates, worst-case scenarios, simulations that ended in failure more often than victory. Too often. They are not threatening us, Ambassador Colleen said softly. They are warning us. The distinction mattered. Threats invited resistance. Warnings demanded reconsideration. While the council debated, humanity waited. Ambassador Chun sat quietly in his assigned quarters. No guards, no restraints, just patience. Admiral Vasquez remained in constant contact with the Dark Fleet. The ships did not move. They did not posture. They simply existed. And that was enough. On the bridge of the Nemesis, Captain Marcus Stone observed council space with calm precision. All vessels holding position. Commander Kim reported. No changes in fleet posture. Stone nodded. Good. Let them argue. 3 cycles later, High Observer Kalmoth requested a private meeting. No witnesses. No broadcasts. Just 2 representatives of vastly different civilizations. You have placed the council in an impossible position, Kalmoth said quietly. For millennia, we have prevented chaos. We have protected weak species. We have stopped wars before they consumed the galaxy. And in doing so, Chun replied calmly, you decided who was allowed to grow and who was not. Kalmoth did not deny it. You do not understand the horrors we have prevented. We have studied them, Chun said. Your records are thorough, but order imposed without consent is still control. Kalmoth studied the human. You are not asking to join the galaxy. You are demanding independence. Yes, Chun said simply. And the fleet? Kalmoth asked. It remains, Chun replied, as a guarantee. The High Observer exhaled slowly. You understand that many among the elder races will never accept this. We understand, Chun said, but submission is not an option. He placed a small data crystal on the table, a treaty proposal. Kalmoth examined it in silence. Full sovereignty, no occupation, no technological suppression, mutual non-aggression. And if the council refuses? Kalmoth asked. Chun met his gaze without hesitation. Then the galaxy learns a lesson neither of us wants. The High Observer leaned back. For the first time in centuries, the Council's greatest strength, unity, worked against it. To attack humanity was to risk everything. To accept humanity meant surrendering control. The debates lasted 5 days. Some demanded war. Others demanded study. Many demanded caution. In the end, pragmatism won. The Dark Fleet was too powerful to ignore, too hidden to defeat, too disciplined to dismiss. On the 6th day, the council reconvened. The Chamber of Stars filled once more, but the atmosphere had changed. There was no contempt now, only restraint. High Observer Kalmoth stood. The Council of the Stars has reached a decision. The words echoed across the chamber, across the galaxy. Humanity is hereby recognized as a sovereign species. The Guided Development Protocol is withdrawn. No Council military presence will be established in human space. A ripple of disbelief spread through the galleries. This had never happened before. Chun inclined his head. Humanity accepts these terms. But Kalmoth raised a hand. This recognition comes with caution. There will be those who view humanity as a threat. We are aware, Chun replied, and prepared. The Dark Fleet did not move, but the message was clear. Humanity would not be guided. Humanity would not kneel. For the first time in 17,000 years, the Council had been forced to adapt. The treaty was signed 3 days later, not in celebration, not with applause, but with caution. The Chamber of Stars filled once more, yet it no longer felt like a court of judgment. The elder races took their thrones with measured restraint, their movements slower, their confidence tempered by what they now understood. Power had changed hands, not through conquest, through preparation. Ambassador David Chun stood at the center of the chamber. The treaty projected in luminous script above him. Around the galaxy, trillions watched in silence. The document was simple in structure, clear in intent, unprecedented in consequence. Humanity would retain full sovereignty over its territory. No council oversight, no peacekeeping occupation, no technological restrictions. In return, humanity agreed to mutual non-aggression, open diplomacy, and respect for council space. Not submission. Partnership. High Observer Kalmoth placed his mark first, then Speaker Varen, Ambassador Colleen. One by one, the elder races followed. Some hesitated. None refused. When Chun pressed his thumb to the final seal, the chamber remained silent. History had shifted. Across council space, reactions spread rapidly. On core worlds, scholars debated what humanity's rise meant for galactic order. On frontier systems, younger species watched with something close to hope. And within military commands, admirals quietly rewrote doctrines that had suddenly become obsolete. For the first time in 17,000 years, the Council was no longer unchallenged. The Dark Fleet withdrew from its visible positions, but did not return home. Instead, the ships faded back into the void, invisible once more, waiting. On the bridge of the Nemesis, Captain Marcus Stone observed withdrawal with quiet satisfaction. All vessels reporting successful repositioning, Commander Kim said. Stone nodded. Maintain silence. Maintain readiness. This was not an ending. It was stabilization. Back on Nexus Prime, Ambassador Chun prepared to depart. The same corridors that once echoed with disdain now carried something else. Distance, respect, and uncertainty. Warlord Sivax watched the human delegation leave. His claws tightened against his throne. The humiliation burned. The Kthian Empire had ruled through fear for millennia. Now, fear had found a new direction. High Observer Kalmoth remained seated long after the chamber emptied. He reviewed old records, past anomalies, past extinctions, past decisions made in the name of order. For the first time, he wondered how many of them had been wrong. Humanity's delegation returned to Earth, to a planet transformed, not by technology, by relief. The truth was released. The hidden fleet, the decades of preparation, the moment humanity stood alone before the galaxy. Cities erupted in celebration, not because war had been avoided, but because freedom had been secured. Admiral Helena Vasquez stood on a balcony overlooking Geneva, watching lights fill the night sky. "We bought ourselves time," she said. "Yes," Chun replied, "but not safety. The Council will remember this," Vasquez continued, "and others will take notice. Some will fear us, some will envy us, and some will test us." Chun nodded slowly. "That is the cost of being seen." Far beyond human space, unknown species observed the broadcasts. Predators, opportunists, civilizations older and stranger than the Council itself. They watched Earth carefully. Humanity had revealed its teeth, but teeth alone did not guarantee survival. As the Nemesis drifted back into darkness, Stone spoke quietly to his crew. "The galaxy knows we exist now. It will not forget." Humanity had earned its seat among the stars, but the stars were watching back, and the age of quiet preparation was over. The galaxy did not change overnight. Empires never do. But something fundamental had shifted. In the weeks following the treaty, the Council of the Stars resumed its sessions. Trade continued. Patrols moved along their routes. Diplomatic traffic flowed, as it always had. Outwardly, order remained. Inwardly, everything was different. For the first time in 17,000 years, the Council had been forced to negotiate rather than command. The precedent was irreversible. Across Council space, younger species took notice. Some had lived their entire histories under quiet supervision, never questioning the limits placed upon them. Now they asked new questions. What else had been possible? What paths had been denied? What futures had been quietly redirected? Hope spread carefully. Fear spread faster. On Earth, life returned to something close to normal. Cities still slept and woke. Ships still launched. Children still looked up at the stars. But now, those stars felt different. They were no longer distant. They were watching back. Ambassador David Chun declined interviews. He had said everything that needed to be said. The treaty spoke for itself. Admiral Helena Vasquez returned to command, overseeing a fleet that officially did not exist. The Dark Fleet resumed its silent patrols, unseen but present. Guardians not conquest, but of certainty. Humanity would never again face judgment unprepared. On the bridge of the Nemesis, Captain Marcus Stone recorded a final entry for the mission log. Objective achieved, he said calmly. Human sovereignty secured. Fleet integrity maintained. There was no celebration, only resolve. In the quiet chambers of Nexus Prime, High Observer Kalmoth studied the stars alone. He reviewed ancient records, species once guided, once corrected, once erased. For the first time in his long existence, he considered a question his people had avoided for millennia. What if control had not preserved order, but delayed progress? Humanity had not arrived screaming. They had not demanded worship. They had not fired a single shot. They had waited, prepared, and when the moment came, they had spoken once and been heard. The galaxy learned a lesson that day, not about weapons, not about power, but about patience. Humanity had survived its own violent history by adapting rather than surrendering. They had turned fear into caution, aggression into discipline, chaos into planning. They did not seek dominion. They sought choice. Some among the elder races would never forgive that. Others would quietly respect it. And somewhere beyond the edges of map space, unknown intelligences took careful note. The universe was vast, older than any council, stranger than any law, and it had room for more than one path forward. Humanity had earned its place among the stars, not as subjects, not as students, but as equals. And as the Dark Fleet watched in the void, humanity made a promise, spoken nowhere, written nowhere, but understood by all who knew the truth. They would explore, they would build, they would defend what was theirs. But they would never forget the moment the galaxy looked down on them and realized it was no longer alone at the top.